Hello, everybody. I'm Britt Writerly. This is my channel, Britt Writerly. Welcome back to another Writerly Conversations. Y'all know who we are. I mean, I could do introductions, but this is a short video about short writings. So let's just hop right in. And I will have my lovely co-host introduce herself shortly. And then we're going to get into this good old short.
Okay, maybe we should have a short counter in this video for how many times the word short comes out of either one of our
I
mouths.
feel like we're up to 5.
Yeah, it could be a thing.
Okay.
Um, hey everybody, I'm Shay, channel Shay with the hobbies. I write, I read, I do other creative stuff. If you like it and blackish things, you should just come over and say hi. That's pretty
Okay. Yeah, it is. I think we're up to 6 now in the comments. Y'all keep it rolling. Okay, so today we are talking about short form writing, short stories and novellas specifically. I never used to care, but now I do. So here we are. So I guess let's start off with, do we read short stories and novellas? I can go first. No, I don't. Or rather, no, I didn't used to. I didn't used to. I'm more likely to read a novella than a short story because why? If you think about it, I bet you can guess. But we're doing a short video, so I'll just tell you quickly. Because most short stories are not in audio form. Like you'd have to find an anthology that's in audio to get some short stories. And there are anthologies on audio, but I don't really hear people recommending anthologies. People recommend like fuller length, longer form writings. So I just don't end up reading a lot of short stories mostly now, not mostly, but like more than short stories, I read novellas because novellas are more likely to have an audio format. And I really got into it, not that I'm into it now, but like short stories, I came through like Alexandria House. Time was she had me in a good old chokehold. I read whatever she write. So, I'm trying to purify my library now. But we all remember the days when she had me hemmed up. Okay. So I was reading her short stories and that's really, I mean, novellas, and that's really how I got back into them. But I can't really even think of other novellas that I have read beyond one Rachel Housel Hall novella, and it did not recommend the genre well, or the short form writing. It did not recommend the category very well to me. I wasn't super impressed with that novella because it seemed really rushed, which is sort of how I feel about novellas. So I'm like, nah, just give me the whole story. Like, take your time. So yeah, that's been my experience with shorter form writings.
So for me, it's honestly how I really got into fiction writing in general, like even as a kid. If you have been on my channel, then you know that me and Nicole from Who Picked This Book, we did the Edgar Allan Poe read along for my second quarter collaboration. And that was because like as a kid, my favorite short story like writer, like complete, like I loved his like brand of horror and how thrillery he wrote. He was such a like, the kind of like the beginning thriller short fiction author, like classics or whatever. That's the word I'm trying to think of. And yeah, I know how we feel about classics around here. So there's that. But I loved reading them, and I love the idea of like being able to take people on a quick ride. And like even as a kid, like I loved those like choose your own adventure stories because like it was never the full book. It was you couldn't to actually get to the end. It was like a quick short story and you're like going on a little adventure. And I remember loving those. And then as far as novellas, I think they became more of a thing when I started reading more cozy mysteries because to me, so there are more cozy mysteries that lean on the novella side than on the novel side, like lengthwise to me. Like they're really like kind of snappy and quick and get it done. Because I remember when I was like trying, when I first was like, I want to write one, so I'm trying to like consume more. I feel like there was like 1 month that like I read like 20 stories, but it wasn't like I read a lot. they were real quick kind of thing. Um, and then this year, because of the Missy Elliott Readathon and the lovely Rex from my lovely co-host Britt over here, I dove into romance novellas because I read the Alexandria House Them Boys series, and I was like, oh wow, you can do a lot with a little, and that I I I was appreciative of the efficiency. I was. So yeah. So because of that, I was like, you know, reading these is a little fun. And I totally I do agree on the short stories because the only way that I've seen if it's not an anthology, it's a collection. So it's like an author that has a lot of short stories and you can like hear those. Because we could find almost every Edgar Allan Poe short story or a poem in some audio form. Now, was it all in one audio form? Like, no, we might have had to like look for whichever collection had it to be able to hear it. But pretty much everyone we were able to find in some way to hear it audibly. So I thought that was pretty cool. But it's also so
Older.
old that it's
Right. He
that
got time in it.
it's got time. So many people have done it in
Yeah.
so many different ways. So
Yeah. I I have so just recently gotten into short stories and audio books. I mean, short stories and novellas but I never thought that I would be writing them. I was just like, oh, look at me reading a novella. That's new. Um, but as far as deciding to write novella, like Christian novellas, and I feel like what I hope is able to happen, but who knows? Because I'm trying to be an underwriter, but I'm an overwriter. I'm just trying to reform myself. I would hope to be able to do novellas when I do romances, just because it's quicker content, and I want to strategically. I want to have a set of writing that I know is just quicker to produce because I have so many like complex intertwined fantasies that are gonna take more time. I want to have something that my readers can have super, super consistently to distract them from waiting on these more complex stories. And not more complex as far as like romance is simple and anyone can do it. More complex is in like, okay, how were these people related across these series? And when they went back in time, what happened? Like that sort of complexity where it's like, I'm just gonna have to take more time to think about that. And so I was like, oh, okay, I think novellas would be a good thing to like dip my toe into Christian romance. And then, and in addition to like the producing it faster. So that's what made me want to do romance novellas. I cannot think of anything that would make me want to do short stories. Like, not, like I would literally sooner do flash fiction than short stories because I feel like short stories hear me out because I see Shay starting to laugh. Hear me out. For those of y'all that are really and truly A1 day ones with my channel, you know I basically started off doing flash fiction with Tales of Eliza Black. It was 3 minutes. Those 3 minutes were 1.5 pages, like 500 to 750 words. That's flash fiction. And so for me, I can super, super concentrate on an idea and just distill it to the briefest scene, to the most significant expression of a thing, and get in, get out. With short stories, I'm just like, I'm just starting to get into this thing, and you talking about wrap it up. I've just unpacked her trash drama, and you talking about wrap it up. I can't. So that's why I'm just like, just give me I would rather just know that you want me to come here, stand right here, and then leave than, oh, come here and show me this room. I'm around here peeking in to the other room. And you talking about come back here and go out that way. It's too much for me. By the time I'm in a short story, I'm just seeing too much of the story. It's difficult for me to gather myself and, wrap it up. So I prefer not to. I prefer to just do a short story, like a flash fiction, or at least a novella. And truth be told, truth be known, come here. I'm struggling with that. I really am. Like I'm trying to wrap it up right now and it's already getting out of control. So me and short stories, we just can't. We're not good for each other, Like short story has boundaries and I'm very disrespectful of those boundaries. I'm the problem. I'm not good for short stories. So I have to see myself out.
So for me, the desire to write short fiction legitimately came because I was getting really depressed with not being able to finish a novel. And I was like, I know I can tell stories. I know I can finish something. Like I know I'm funny and I'm good talking about people and making you like feel like people are real. I can do this. And I couldn't do it. And it was really bothering me. And so when I first got into the YouTube space of writing, I read someone's short story and like the way in which they said it really kind of made it click for me. Like really like it was like with a short story, just think of it really simple, like create a problem, give a solution. Like literally. And it's like that's one, my business brain was like, that's business. What you think of a problem and he creates, you know this, but like how story wise. And so that's kind of what came, that's how the idea for Penelope's Curve like came out of that. Was like, what's the problem? There is a man eating ghosts. And what's the solution? I'm thinking, do we feed her or what? Like what it was, and that's how the story came about, and it was to feed her. She ate. By the end of that story, da da da. Spoiler alert. So I that was my desire, was to finish something, and then once I did, it became a lot easier. Like the short stories I can do. I can do now. I want to do more flash fiction, especially because the way that I'm working on the Penelope's Curve collection, I want there to be more like flash fiction to divide the stories up and kind of give you like a different perspective. And the way I'm trying to bring the whole collection together, y'all, it'll, gosh, Lord willing, it'll be good. It'll be great. Chef's kiss, but it's gonna take some work because flash fiction is. I feel about flash fiction how Britt feels about short stories. Like 500 words, and like some like there's some flash fiction competitions or like submissions I've done that are like 125 words, and I'm like, yo, how can you come on, like how did it? But I do. Like I've given myself like a goal that one of the short stories in there, the flash fiction, has to be less than 200 words. Like I've given myself a goal of like writing one. But that was the desire to get that. Now, do I think that I've let that desire kind of enrapture me, and that's why we ain't got no novels yet? Yeah, but 2023, we're gonna work on it. We're gonna work on it. We're gonna work on it. But yeah, that was my that was my desire.
Yeah, and it's you should read The Teeth of the Comb and Other Stories by Osama. Who is it? Yes, Osama Alomar. The Teeth of the Comb and Other Stories. It's a collection. It's a very small book, but it's a bunch of. It's really more flash fiction than short stories, but they are varying lengths. There are stories in there that are one sentence. There are stories that are one paragraph. There are stories that are three paragraphs. There are stories that are a page. So like you really get varying lengths, but it's good. I would definitely recommend you and anyone else that's like, I feel like I need to see how people are actually doing this, like super quick storying. The Teeth of the Comb and Other Stories is a good starter collection. Because what it really gets to is like,
What genre is that?
fiction.
Okay, just general fiction.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember any fantasy in it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. But as far as like, so that's actually a good segue, like The Teeth of the Comb and Other Stories, like what certain short stories and novellas have taught me that I hope to emulate, that are helping me to understand how to do this form of storytelling, which is different from a full-length novel. Number one, starting with Teeth of the Comb and Other Stories by Osama Alamar. Um, there, like I said, so there are stories in there that are literally one line. And what that really taught me was like, what is the point of the story? Like, what's the kernel? Because in those one sentences, that one sentence, that's the kernel of the story. Now they could write a longer flash fiction, they could write a short story, they could write a novella, they could write a full-length novel off of that one sentence, but that one sentence encapsulates a whole story, and it prompts you to, what's the word I'm looking? It prompts you to speculation, right? So I'm gonna butcher what this one sentence story was, but it was something like, the girl had a need and she bled, or something like that. And it's like, but that's the story. Like, I can think of many YA fantasies right now where it's a girl that had a need and she bled for it. That's the story. And so it really got me to thinking about, how do I distill the stories that I'm stuck on, the stories that I feel like I'm overwriting? How would I be able to distill that into one sentence? And so that's something that for me to keep as I write a novella, like when I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm overwriting, it's becoming a novel, not a novella. What's the one sentence? Pull back. Because what it reminds me of is like, yes, the things that I'm writing, these scenes that I'm like, oh, they're so perfect. Da, da, da. Yes, those can go in this story, but I can also tell the story without it, because I could tell the story in one sentence. And once you know that you can tell a story in one sentence, you know that you don't need to add anything else. That as long as you're getting to the kernel and expressing that kernel, if once you've expressed that kernel in one sentence, you don't need 80,000 words to do it. And so that's sort of like, remember that this can be told in one sentence is helpful for me, because I'm an overwriter and I need to remember I don't need all those things to do this. And then Shay made a really good point about Alexandra House's short stories, and I hope I'm not stealing her point now that she was going to mention, but if I am, snatch. So I was like, overwriting. I think I'm about to go over my 40,000 cap for this romance. And she was like, well, when I was reading Miss House, and particularly the Them Boys series, she was like, all of those novellas really focused around an event. So like in romance, the catalyst is a person, not an event. Like, it's about how a person changed the person, not how an event changed the person. But in Alexandra House's romance novellas, yes, it's the person changing a person, but there is an event that is sort of marking time for this story. And once the event comes and goes, no matter where they are standing, that's where the story ends. Now typically they're standing in a good place, but like that is marking the time. And so that is something that I'm still like mulling that over, because I'm like, that feels like a good rule of thumb. And also it feels like something that I just need. Like, I need something to mark the time. If we're not going on a quest where we have a clear goal at the end, I need some event. It doesn't have to be a transformational event. The event can actually be something that shows the transformation, and you're working toward the event, you're getting ready for the event, whatever. But I need some measurement to mark the progress of time, so I know by when certain things should be happening. Because yes, Save the Cat, you can use it for novellas. Save the Cat is just math. However many words you're trying to have, do the math to put the beast in the right place. Sure. But that's still having a faster character development that I'm used to. And so having something in the story, like in the plot of the story, not in the external structure of the story, having something in the story to structure time, it feels like it'll be really helpful. I'm still mulling it over and still trying to figure out like, oh, what is the event? I think I have it now. And already I'm just like, okay. And also really trying to remember, like, HFAs are a thing. Like, I'm here for the HEAs all day. I'm a happily ever after girl. But they can also be happy for now, especially if the event is coming real quick and they didn't know each other before. It probably is going to be an HFA that has HEA potential. Like, you can't expect someone to be like, I love you for the rest of my life after we've known each other for a week. But you can be like, okay, you wore me down, I'll go on a date with you, right? So like, also not like trying to make my romances end in marriage, which is a thing that like happens a lot in romance, but like it doesn't have to. It can just end with them together, and that's enough to make it a romance. So I'm trying to hold all these things in my mind because that is what helps me to like finish the story sooner. If I'm not trying to work them towards these bigger monumental milestones in a relationship, which is what I would do if it were longer form.
Okay. So in the short stories or novellas I've read, I can think of three things. So from reading Edgar Allan Poe, I like realized like it is really, really not hard to do horror in short fiction. Like it's not like the you have to grab onto the senses. And that was like we were reading his work, like that was what I realized is like it's very visual. It's very like you're getting smells, you're getting what people are seeing, you're getting what people are feeling. And those things create an atmosphere of horror if you do them right. And so that was something that reading those earlier this year, I think it's definitely made me go back and like change things in the stories that I've already written for the collection. Like, okay, no, I could tell this better now because I've seen how this was done. Also, we said this during this, like I fully understand why he is considered a classic author and why it is like people talk about reading him so much because I felt like I learned so much just from reading all of his stuff, like about how the use of language and also for all intents and purposes, the use of language was very flowery back in that time and very, is the word verbose the one to use? Is that the word?
Like they use a lot of words to say something.
Yeah, like it's a lot, right? But to think that you can do that and it still be a short story, like how does like that I like because y'all know your girl likes to talk. So I was just saying, I just was like, yo, I feel like you definitely could have said this in less sentences, and this is still a short story. How? So that would be that. Now I am blanking on the name of the author, but there is a short story that I read in high school, and it's pretty much the thing that kind of helped cement the have a problem, find a solution tidbit that I gotten. Because it's a short story in which like um this lady and her husband get invited to this place and to like this ball and she wants to look really, really nice. So she asked her neighbor to borrow this really expensive necklace that she had. She borrows it, loses it at the party, something happens to it. And instead of wanting to tell the woman the truth, like they go into debt to pay for the necklace to get another one like remade exactly like it and give it to her. And so like this happens and that's over the course of like some years to pay this off. And so one day, right, so one day she sees the lady like out somewhere and she has the necklace on. And the lady says something like really like off the hand that like makes the lady like, nah, actually I feel away because I had to pay this to get that necklace. Like that really made me feel away that I had to do that. And then the lady was like, oh, my dear, I'm sorry. That necklace was a fake. Girl, right? Right. Now, that was definitely an all T all Shay like summation of the story because it was written like back in Edgar Allan Poe time. So it definitely didn't sound like but that's the gist of the story. I'm gonna look it up and send you it so you can put it in
Now
the
she had a bargain Gucci and you got her the Gucci.
Right, right. But it was like the lesson, like you were so busy trying to impress someone else, you went into debt and you lost everything for someone who wasn't even trying to impress you. And when I say that story has stuck with me, I read that story when I was 15 years old. And I say stuck with me and I can't think of the man's name, but you see how much the story itself, right? Stuck with me. Um, And so I want to say the story is called The Necklace because it was a necklace. And so I I when I came up with the Penelope's curve, it was like, what is the lesson? Keep your hands to yourself. That's the lesson. Keep your hands to yourself. What is the lesson? You know you're not supposed to walk at home at night in the dark by yourself. Protect yourself. What is the lesson? What is the what if you read the story, what do you get out of it? What's the little Aesop fable in there? What are you supposed to be learning? Is all I'm saying. And then the last thing, similar to it is with the Alexandria house, so similar to what you were saying. I was like, how do you make me feel for these characters like super duper fast? And now, granted, all of the novellas that I've read have been Alexandria houses. And I feel like I've only in all the ones that I've read, the couples already knew each other. And so when I was thinking about what I want to do for the romance novella,
not in Shoe.
No, no.
Yeah, Shoe was
the okay. Was that not okay? I know what I was thinking.
They had been together like doing that for years, and Ja they were doing it for a year, and then in Shoe he met her then.
Okay, yeah. No, okay. I was thinking of the McLean brothers sister one, that novella, like how they had been like, and like you knew something was going on, but you didn't know what was going on, huh?
Let me please you.
Yeah, let me please you. There we go. All right. Okay, so minus the shoe one because I was like, oh, I completely forgot that, but I think that was my least favorite one of all of them. So I feel like that might have been my least favorite one of all of them. If I'm being honest, I can't remember. I'll tell you so you can put it in and then let the people know because they're gonna be like, is it? Is it? Okay. But I was like, yo, like prior chemistry helps, like backstory helps for novellas. Like it makes it easier if you have like a problem that's already off page or something that's already done off page when you start. Because right, like when we're reading novels and things like that, we don't really we come in as the problem is happening. Right? Like when I think of like Blood Like Magic, like we're coming in as she's failing her calling, right? When we could Ray Bear, we're coming in as she's getting chose to, go through the trials to become one of the council siblings. So that I tried to go into writing a novella the first time a long time ago, like I say a long time ago, like 5 years. And I tried to go into it with the like starting like a novel. And it's just a novel, but shorter. It is, but the ways in which you write it are different. The ways in which you come about it are different. And the follow up to this was I saw this also in the other novellas I read being prequels. Like when a writer wants to tell you a specific event that happened that affects this major storyline or this series that they have, but they don't want to give you a full book about it. They don't want to do that, but they do want you to get this full history and not just the backstories they've given you in the story already. And again, great examples of this is history. This is things that need to be known. These are things that you're coming in already on. And so those are the three things that I like gleaned from the things that I read, and I'm trying to put into what I'm writing.
Yeah, those are really helpful because it really is. It's a different ballgame when it's a novella. It seems like, oh, all the same things are there. And to an extent they are, but because they are compressed in time, that changes it. Things change when they're compressed. So it may be similar. It may be the same beats, but the setup, for instance, is going to be different. Like you're way more allowed to start in medias res or like in the middle of action in a novella than people would be expecting in a novel because it's like, why are you rushing me? Like, I don't know where care what's going on. In a novella, I feel like people are like, all right, I get it. I asked for this. So it's a different set of expectations. So yeah, but like even with us saying all those things, it is still difficult to like turn that in your mind when you're just like, novel writing is like, oh, wait a minute. I'm at 18,000 words and I feel like I'm in act 2, but I really should be nearing the midpoint. Like I'm about to get into act 2 as far as like where I am in the story, but I should be approaching the midpoint, but I'm not. So it like even knowing all these things, I feel like for me, it's really gonna be like in the revision process, in like the draft 2 process, where I really start doing those things to make it a novella and not an incomplete novel, essentially, you know? So that's me. Shay, final thoughts for the
I was
people.
gonna say no, I totally agree. And I think like the one of the only reasons I think it has become easier for me is I'm just naturally an underwriter. So it's easier for me. And that's part of the reason why, the novel thing is like I can tell a story, but I need to stretch it it needs to hit that 50K mark at the least, and you beef it up as you go. But if my novel is at 30K, yeah, that's a lot of beefing in multiple drafts is all I'm saying. So no, I totally agree with that. And I think that I feel like it will be interesting to have a conversation about this in 2023 when we have finished them and we are like looking to put them out. And what we have learned compared to like, hey, we're now in this trying to make this happen. How do we feel about it? So I'm excited. Also, when you were like, I don't know why I would write a short story, all I'm saying is the short story that I've been working on, if they do choose it for submission, you get paid $2,300. You could self-publish 2 novellas and a novel with that. So that would be like, for me, is all I'm saying. If the requirement is, because I think it can't even be more than 6,000 words, I think. So less than 6,000 words, add a chance to, and I'm stretching my writerly muscles. I'm just saying, I can think of ways in which you might be convinced to give it a try.
Oh, I'm sure I could be convinced to give it a try. I'm just saying, ironically, it would take me as long to write a short story as it would to draft a novel.
Oh yeah, no, short stories are no joke.
Yeah, like I
And
mean,
that
now
editing
it would be
process,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
I
like
remember you were like snip, 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 and I was like, wait a minute now, wait a minute, wait a minute. Hold on. Some of these things they kind of got to. I know it looks a little superfluous, and probably it's not. It's not. It's not. It needs to be there. It needs to be there. But hey, I was like, I need this many words cut. She was like, say less, and I was like, no, I actually need to say more, just a little bit, a little bit more.
yeah, Edwina was in her bag. Edwina Scissorhands, for those of you who are new to the Brit and Shay show. Edwina Scissorhands is my editorial alter ego, and man, just tell her how many words you need cut. She will cut that plus tax. But yeah, no, that it'll be super interesting to catch us in a year and be like, woo, I thought I was ready then, and nope. But now here I am, and let me tell you what I didn't know then. So yeah, maybe we can do that. Okay, well, thank y'all for watching. This has been our short writerly conversation on writing short form stories. If you are watching the replay, thank you so much. If you're with us live, thank you so much. All of y'all, smash that like button. If you are liking the vibe, if you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm a book and author tube channel. If that's interesting to you, smash that big red button and we can be internet friends. If you are watching, whether live or on the replay, comment short. So we know that you're here. And if you are a writer of short form stories, feel free to give us some tips. What helps you to like conceptualize drafting a short form story? Let us know. We want to know. Okay, we will see y'all later days. Bye.
Wait. Okay, sorry. I was gonna say. Also, don't forget to tell us how many times short was said in the video. I think
Yeah,
you're kind of
blew that word
where
up.
we're at. Where we're at. And next month will be our finale for season
So many
2.
things I forgot to tell you.
Right? Yeah.
Get you a co-host.
Okay. And so lastly, Next month will be our finale for season 2. We will be doing the same thing we did last year. We go back and react. So we have, but this year we're giving y'all a little two-parter. So you'll get us little 2 days in December. And then you won't see us until January. We're gonna be like, out. So yeah.
Yep. Okay. So we're gonna be out there. So if you are still watching, whether live on the replay, thank you very much. Smash that like button. Comment short, and tell us how many times we said the word short in this video. I lost count somewhere around 6, which was at the beginning. Yeah, so I immediately stopped counting. Y'all let us know how many times we said short. And thank y'all very much for watching. We will see y'all later days.